The stage is set, so please, Teepa, take it away.
All right. Well, thanks, Andrea. And I'm glad you got all the housekeeping done before, we got started. And everybody should have a job, because it turns out that having purpose and having value is probably one of the most important things when we're living. Human beings really do crave purpose and value. So what we're going to be doing today is exploring how can you live well, even if you're living with Parkinson's or maybe Lewy body dementia plus Parkinson's or maybe some other movement disorder. But what we want to explore is what can we do together that might shift us from where we are to where we want to be, if where we are isn't where we want to be. So I'm going to start by sharing the slides just a bit, and then we'll sort of come and go from them. But what I want to share with you is that we will have these slides up and available on our website for about 2 weeks. We'll also make sure that you can get them through the organization. So it's not like you have to go there, but if you desire going there, you can go, and you can also take a picture of this little QR code, and then it will pop you right there as well if you prefer. So what we're going to be doing today is talking about filling the day with meaningful activities when somebody's living with a movement disorder. And what I'm going to tell you is it's more complicated than anybody wants to actually believe. And so we keep thinking, I don't know why we're having so much trouble getting this to happen. And it's like, well, because there's lots of building blocks you have to put in place. First of all, and the most important part is we got to know the person. Because if we make a mistake about what the person is interested in, what they're willing to do, what they believe about themselves, what they think about what's going on, what kind of things they enjoy and what they dislike, we're already on the wrong street. And then we've got to start figuring out, okay, so this particular activity, what does it take? What is it going to do? What's the value of it for that human being? Oh, and then we have to figure out where we're going to put it in the day. How's it going to fit in there compared to the other things that need to get done? Because it turns out there's a whole variety of human things that have to happen in a day. And so fitting in this other thing, this whatever it is that you've decided needs to be added, has to be worked around. And then there's the whole environment stuff. Is this the right place to do it? Is this, how can we modify this place so it works? Or what environment would encourage this thing to happen? Of course, then there's the, I'm a helper, I'm not the person. So what kind of skill building do I need to do? What do I need to know? What do I have to have in my repertoire so that I can be present and I can be supportive versus I'm not? And finally, what resources are we going to need? What kind of props? What kind of objects? What kind of stuff? Or what kind of sounds? Or what kind of whatever is going to be needed here for this to work? So those are the building blocks. So when we talk about filling a day or having a day with meaning, it's actually a lot more complicated. And so if we only think all we need are the resources, then okay, so here you go. Here's these, and I want you to work on actually working on your hand strength, okay? That's what I want you working on today. Here you go. And I just hand them over here. What's gonna happen 9 out of 10 times? Or actually 99 out of 100 times? What do you think would happen if I just handed you resources and say, here, squeeze them. They'll be good for your hand strength. What do you think happens? You go, that's interesting. And those things could have been like $200 each. I mean, it doesn't matter how much they cost, it's whether or not I see the value of what these things are. And is it really giving me what I'm looking for? Is it engaging me more than just my hand strength? So I'm going to show you a little video clip. And I'm going to be curious. Now we're going to check and make sure that I have sound that I'm sharing and I have the video that I'm sharing. And I want you to watch this video. And I want you to realize I have someone who has been to a professional. They went to a professional who said, this is a really good thing for you. And they gave them a resource. Okay, so that's the setup. Right? So everybody's going to watch and you're going to tell me what you think about all this. Okay, here we go.
Hey.
Oh,
Hey,
hey.
sweetheart. Listen.
Teepa, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Look, she gave me these,
She
but
gave
then
the
I don't know.
exercise.
Yeah, the exercise
Right.
things. And I'm supposed to start with the easiest and go to the hardest ones, but I don't know which. I
Yeah.
didn't. She didn't. I don't know which one is which.
Yeah, they're kind of not
There's
marked very
three
well, are
colors,
they?
but there's not any. It doesn't
Okay.
say on them which is
It doesn't.
which.
Okay, so I'm going to pause right there. So the expert shared with me something to do. And at the time I got it, I thought, great, I can do this and I can work on this. And I came to where I live, in this case, a supported community, and I shared, what was it? She said to do it, but she said easy to hard, but I don't see any markings on them. So what's happening here? What do you think is happening for me? Because I do want to do it. It's not like I don't want to do it. What's getting in my way though? What do y'all think? And you can speak up or you can chat up, however you like it. What's the obstacle you think I'm seeing here?
People said multiple step instructions, forgot instructions. What do I do first? Seemed easy at the time, but can't remember.
Yeah, so what had happened here is I got excited about this activity that I thought would help me. I thought it would be good for me. And I got super excited about it. And because I was so excited about it, I thought I would hold on to all the details that she gave me. I was able to hold on to about 5 things from that whole exercise plan. And unfortunately, the order in which I was to do them was not part of it. Because I was so sure at the time, I assured her, yes, I get it. This is wonderful. I'm so looking for this. I promise I will do them. So what did I do when I figured that out? I figured out, oh crap, I do not remember. I can't remember what she said about them. I know what I'm supposed to do with them, but I can't remember what she said about them. Crap. She said an order. I can't remember the order. So what did I decide I was going to do to make it? Because I still have that idea. I want to do this thing. What did I decide I needed to go do? I had to go get help. I needed help, and I decided I would go get it. Now, what I want to point out is how much initiation on my part that took. How much overcoming the anxiety and the fear of being identified as being forgetful or not noticing things, or how much I had to go out of my comfort zone because the prop was provided and I did it one time, but there was a thought that if you do it one time, it would connect the synapses for me and I'd be able to access those synapses later. And it turns out the older we get, the harder it is to build a synapse in one session. Classically, we need to repeat those synapses multiple times before our brain can make use of a synapse when we want it and not when we're guided through it. And people make this assumption about, oh, well, it must be that she has something going on wrong with her brain. And it's like, here's the heads up. Getting new data in when I'm having a hard time moving, when I'm having a hard time processing, it is harder. But that doesn't mean I can't do it. It just means I can't do it with a 1 and done. I can't do it with a 2 and done. I actually could use some added support. So let's see what Melanie figures out, because Melanie is the person I went to find. I said, hey, sweetheart, I can't remember. So let's see what she does that might or might not be helpful at this point. Let's see where she goes with it. Did anybody notice what she did? Okay, I'm going to show you what she did. I'll back it up just a little. Watch carefully what she tries, because she doesn't just give me the answer. She doesn't just tell me. She first uses a visual cue. And visual cues can be really powerful because it means it activates my brain to think about the visual data. Unfortunately, for me, I'm too anxious about feeling incompetent about remembering. I can't make use of the visual data right then. But watch what she does, because she does use it.
But I don't know which, I
Yeah.
didn't, I don't know which one is which.
Yeah, they're kind of not
There's
marked very
three
well, are
colors,
they?
but there's not any, it doesn't say.
So did you see how she stretched them right in front of me? And if you noticed, which one was the stretched the longest? She was using the same motion. Which one stretched the longest? The yellow. Which one was the next easiest to stretch? The green. And then which one was the hardest to stretch? The dark blue. So what Melanie now knows is, wow, I'm having a hard time taking in data. I'm having a hard time taking what she's showing me and making use of it. I'm not independent right now. So if she just tells me, here, this is the one you want to do first, this is the one you want to do second, this is one you want to do third, and she leaves me there, what do you think the probability is when I get back to my room, I will be able to do it? Because that would have been the second time I heard about it. What do you think the chances are?
Likely forgotten again.
It won't happen. And so once again, here I am. And now how likely is it I want to go back out a second time and have to confront Melody with my inability? Because it's bad enough when it was somebody else, but now it's my friend Melanie who's now going to recognize I have incompetence. So what's happening if Melanie does that and walks away? My social isolation increases. Because this is all about, I want to feel successful. I want to have this happen in my day. And so Melanie has to figure out how to get that to happen. So let's see what she does.
Say on them, which is which?
One.
That's for one? Oh, this is the one I do first?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, so this is first. This is the one first.
That's one.
Because it's the easiest,
Mm-hmm.
and you're sure.
I am absolutely sure.
Now, who spontaneously, when she handed me the pen, walked over to the table, leaned over, and started writing first on it?
You, not her.
Yes, and who didn't think about what she did? Me.
You, not her.
If I had thought of it, I would have gotten stuck. That's the trick with Parkinson's frequently. Once I start thinking about a task, I'm immobilized, because then I have to get one part of my brain to tell the other part of my brain what it is I ought to do. And what happened was she spontaneously handed me the pen and said one, and I said, oh, first. And then I spontaneously went over and did this fine motor task. Wow. Would I have had the chance to do it if Melanie had just picked up the pen and written the number on it? Would she say, if she said, Teepa, come over to the desk, I want you to pick up the pen and I want you, what happens then? All too often. I have to take in the verbal information, come over to the table. My brain has to take in verbal, translate it to movement, get my body to then send the message from my cortex all the way down to my body and make my body move over there. And then I have to remember when I get there, oh yeah, the pen, pick up the pen. Where's the pen? Now I have to get my hand to go out. And none of that actually had to happen because Melanie reached over and just had the pen in position. And I spontaneously moved through this whole sequence.
Okay, so that's the first one.
That's the first one.
And this one is what?
Two.
Second?
Second.
All right, well, this is the second hardest.
The second hardest.
And so this is the one I do next.
Next.
And then here comes this one.
Three.
Now, I'm not sure I'll see this on here.
It's hard to tell, isn't it?
That's third or three? Third.
Third.
Because I do it third.
You do it third.
That's like,
Okay, now it has been 1 minute and 9 seconds of an interaction. But what has happened for Teepa in that 1 minute and 9 seconds? What happened for her day in that 1 minute and 9 seconds?
She figured it out.
She figured it out. She is smart. She is competent. Not only that, she did 3 fine motor tasks without any assist at all. She just did all this. Wow. And she's got the answer to the problem that she had. And she likes Melanie right now. And she has something she can do later that gives her a sense of value and purpose. So let's wrap it up, because there's one little tiny bit more that I want us to see that is one of those things that happens when human beings interact with other human beings that have value.
First grade, second grade, third grade.
Nice
so you
work.
go to first grade first. Then you go to second grade, and then you get to third grade, then you keep going.
Then they start test.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so what happened at the end there? What did you notice?
He says a handshake.
Yeah, we got a handshake out of Teepa. Teepa reached out spontaneously and shook hands and said, and then there was this thankfulness. So the next time I need help, who might I go see again?
Same person.
The same person. So we're building this relationship where me needing some support doesn't mean I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, I'm incompetent. It just means we're friends and she helps me out. So if that's the case, my day and my world has just gotten a little bit bigger. And the way she did that was really assess my abilities and not make assumptions. So what we want to think about here is when we build these pyramids, we got to be careful that we don't make assumptions about people, because one of the things we know about Parkinson's is, if nothing else, it changes. It changes from minute to minute, from hour to hour. But here's the thing about human beings. We have categories of things we do every day. We do some things that we call productive. In other words, they make me feel valued. And so historically, that's been the work that I do. But when I'm living with some changes, the work that I do may become how I provide support or help for someone else, how what I do makes a difference in the world, how what I do has value in the home, has value in a location. Something I'm doing matters. So in that interaction, although Melanie was helping Teepa was providing Melanie with an opportunity to use her skills. And so this interaction with one another, we both can feel productive. Melanie, of course, still has some charting to do. However, what she did do is engage me in a way that gives me something to do with myself, but I feel very connected to Melanie. The second kind of activity that we must engage with every day in order to be well is something that gives us a sense of satisfaction, a sense of enjoyment, a sense of pleasure. It turns out the human brain must experience at least 5 minutes of pleasure a day to thrive enough to be well. You don't have to have massive amounts of enjoyment or satisfaction, but you have to at least be able to find 5 minutes a day where you feel satisfied. Something that you did, something that you experienced was very satisfying. And of course, the more positive it is, the more it can flow from that, and it causes amazing changes in the human brain. Now, the third category are things you do because they're good for your body or good for your brain or good for your spirit or good for your emotions. I mean, they're good for you. And the whole reason you do it is because it's good for you. You eat, you poop, you pee, you walk outside sometimes, you do things that are good for you. So, or they're good for the place you live. Maybe you vacuum the rugs, maybe you feed the dogs, maybe you take the kids places, maybe you clean up stuff, but you do it because it's good for. But you don't find a lot of satisfaction in it and you don't feel particularly valued for it. It's just the thing you do. So how many of you, when you poop, I'm just going to come back to you. When you take a poop, you go, yes, wow, that was super satisfying. I feel like I've made a big difference in the world to put that poop out there. How many of you simply poop because people poop, and if you don't poop, you have problems? And so pooping is a function of the human body. You put something in, stuff's going to come out. It's called waste. And pooping has some value. But when you become a carer, sometimes you get super excited about poop. I know you're excited, but many other people are not all that thrilled with it. But sometimes when you're in the role of care support in the world of Parkinson's, poop is something you value, because when it doesn't come out, it's not a pleasant life for anybody, because it is something that needs to happen. Well, here's the thing. It turns out that poop comes out better when you're active and when you're feeling productive and when you're moving around and doing things. And the tricky part is when I start feeling like I don't want to engage with people, when I start feeling like nothing I do is right, when I start feeling like that's too much, that's too big, I can't even begin, this is just overwhelming. Well, poop doesn't come out so well any more than anything else comes out well. So that idea of breaking things down into tiny baby steps, and before we talk about getting to the bathroom to go poop, it's just mostly how do we get out of that chair? Ooh, listen, would you do me a big favor? I have something I need and I can use your help. This lemon, come here just a second, I want to show you. Now, what I did is I stood where the person could see me and I gave a come along signal. And with I'm looking for spontaneous movement. I'm looking to trick the brain into doing something that it says, oh, could you do me a favor? What if I put it in the category right away of? What is that? Of the four types. What have I just said? Could you do me a favor? I could use your help. I'm saying you have value, you have purpose, you are productive. I am counting on you. And I then do that signal and I stand far enough back and I say, come here, I could use your help. And I'm making a move away from the person. So they get the idea, the whole visual cue I'm giving, the motion cue I'm giving, the energy cue I'm giving is, I need you, come here. And now if I have somebody who's not really stable, I can shift to the side. Well, you couldn't even see or hear me do that, but I would shift to the side so I'm in the position of providing the support somebody needs. But I have to make sure they're moving forward first, and I have to stay out of their way so they start that forward movement. And that motion that I gave, and I can say, tell you what, lean up, there you go, there you go, you got it, now stand, perfect, wow, nice job. All right, here's the lemon. It goes up on that shelf. Thank you. It goes up on that shelf. What am I doing with that activity? Let's see if you can figure out. How many boxes does it tick? You're good at that. Wow, you're so much taller than me. That's why I can never reach up there. It's a good thing you're tall, I swear. So what we're ending up with is something that gives a person a sense of value and purpose. They have some satisfaction. They're moving their body. They're using their brain. Now, the only thing we haven't done yet is poop, but you know, that's down the road. Did you guys forget that was ultimately where I was heading? Yeah, because what I have to start thinking about is how do I think ahead, but live in the moment? How do I plan for possibilities, but live with what happens? So if I can't move out of the chair, I've got to figure out how I take the lemon, this prop, and how I get the person to lean forward and put it on the floor for me, put it in a bucket for me. I can take really very complicated things I want to have happen, but I've got to break it down into tiny pieces. Just like you saw Melanie started by stretching, and then she just handed a pen and boom, amazing things can happen. But if we have in our head, well, she won't be able to do that. Well, she won't be able to do that. But she won't be able to do it because not just of what she's experiencing, but what I'm not skillful enough yet at. And that's where becoming more skillful comes into play. So I'm going to share you a few more slides with you because, you know, before too long, it's your time to ask me questions because we're going to stop at about 1/4 of, and it's a wide open. You get to ask whatever questions you'd like. So this last one down here, restorative and rest. The idea that human beings do need to rest every day. One of the challenges with many people living with Parkinson's is they can have restless leg syndrome. And if you have restless leg syndrome, guess what's not happening? You're not getting good rest. It can be exhausting. And when it takes everything you've got to try to move your body, you might need more episodes of rest, but inertia sets in. And there's a difference between actively resting and not being able to get into movement. And it's tricky, and yet it's one of the most important things we can start to notice. Is it a question of the person truly does need to rest, or is it just that their body and their brain are not communicating to initiate? Because it turns out initiation is really difficult for many people living with Parkinson's or Parkinsonian symptoms. So here are some ideas of productive activities that I've broken down. Oh, hush. Means it's been a half hour. I set a timer because I might lose track of time. These are the kinds of things that I could do with somebody depending on who they've been, who they are, what they enjoy, what kind of abilities they might still have. And I can vary the props because these, if you look at them fairly carefully, are all active things. So if I have somebody who's better at taking things apart than putting them together, what I might ask him to do is take these things and just put them out on the table for me. Now, that's a lot of fine motor. So maybe I'll have them take these things out of a bucket and put them all out on the table for me right now. And then maybe at another time, we can count those things. Maybe instead of counting them, we move them. We're going to take them from here and we're going to put them up there on those shelves up there. We're going to take this thing and we're going to do this. All of these are things that are process oriented, not so much worried about the product. The product may happen, but it's the process, the doing of it that has the value. So we can take something big for 5 minutes. We could do it for 10. We could spend a half hour. I might spend an hour. It really depends on my person, but 5 minutes of a purposeful activity is very satisfying. And then I can pause and see where we're at. I don't need to wear someone out. I want to engage someone to such an extent that their brain and their body comes online, and all of a sudden we're doing something. Ooh, I just saw something. Take a look at this. Okay, I want you to take a look at this and see if somebody can help me out. What is that? That's sort of weird. What is it? What do you think it is?
Scrabble tile.
A Scrabble tile? Oh, so that's why there's a 10 on it, huh? Yeah. So, so what letter, so that letter, what is that? Sort of weird.
Q.
Oh, it's a Q. Oh, okay. So it's harder to come up with words that have Q in them? Is that why it's worth so many points?
Yes.
Oh, now who gets to be really smart, by the way?
Me.
Oh, good. Well, that's wonderful because I actually knew it was a Q and it was worth 10 points. But what I created was an opportunity for you to be smart and an opportunity for us to engage and an opportunity. And this is where, like, when I said, oh, it's this. And I looked somewhat confused. You might say, well, you idiot, it's a Q. Oh, it's a Q. I don't care if you call me an idiot or not, because what I'm really trying to do is get your eyes to engage, your mouth to engage, and for us to engage. And in that moment, you may think, oh, she's sort of stupid. It's like, okay, because that means you're sort of smart. It may be think that I'm a little slow. It's okay because you're pretty fast. And now, okay, so Q. Now what's the letter that goes next to it so you can spell more things? There's one letter I think that people tend to use a lot next to it.
You.
Oh, a U. Could you look in here and see if you can find a U? Now, I just sucked you into a game of looking for more things, of doing more things. And I sucked you in because I started pretty simply by engaging your eyes, engaging your mouth, engaging your brain. And then I got you, and I haven't asked you to do a whole lot. I've asked you to hold the container and maybe start dumping these out. And that's a little less skillful. But if you go, I can't get them. I'll tell you what, I'll dump them out. Let's see if we can turn them over. There are so many opportunities that we have here to start engaging. And engaging is the first step to value. Yeah, so we're going to come back to that question, and I hope Erin doesn't lose, not Erin, I hope Andrea doesn't lose it, because she's supposed to be keeping track of questions. So that's a productive activity. Well, here's the next kind of activity, and there's a laundry list of them, and it's two ideas here. So if we're paying bills, or if we're washing dishes. Now, paying bills is a process, but it has an outcome. Washing dishes, it's a process, but it has an outcome. I want you to look down this list and realize, though, I am pulling on different abilities. So if the person goes, yeah, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Then I might get the person maybe while we're walking to say, here, hold these. We're going to put them in the mailbox. Here, I'm going to open it, just put them in. Because it might be easier to put them in than it is to open the mailbox. And the next time I say, here, can you open the mailbox for me? Here, go ahead and put the flag up. Because what I'm doing is giving a cue that is a sequence cue, but I'm giving it one step at a time. On the washing the dishes, we may want to think hard about what we're asking for. And is it something that the person has done, likes to do, gives a sense of community? Or we may have somebody who may want to supervise. Well, here's the reality. Supervising is participation. It may not be your first desirable participation, but the reality is, if somebody watches me do something, I can hold it up and say, oh, so this one still has stuff in it. Should I dump it out, or do you think I should try to keep it for right now? Do you want here? You want to go ahead and finish that off, and then I can wash it. What did I actually want the person to do? Let's see if you can figure out what my goal was. Because I can be pretty tricky, because I've got lots of experience. I've been doing this for 43 years. So people tend to do things for me, and they don't even know they're doing things.
Nancy says, make a decision.
Make a decision. That's right. Should I do this or should I do this? I might be looking for, will they actually drink this? If I just say, here, finish this off. Because I started in the middle of task. So I hand you the cup and it's like, oh, you want me to drink this? Yeah, finish it off. Or they might not. But it's an opportunity to participate. So what we want to be better at doing is offering opportunities that are hard to refuse. So here's a couple of others. Here are things you could do: filling rice socks, adding herbs, put the sock inside another sock, heat the sock, rub the sock over muscles, empty the socks out, making fruit salad, or you can actually just get fruit salad, or you could just put the fruit salad in a bowl, or you could take the bowl and offer it to somebody. All of those are kinds of activities that have the potential for purpose, for pleasure or satisfaction. And because they're both involving something with the human body and the human brain, they actually could be something that's healthy or valuable for the person, as far as it's something that's good for you. And what it's not is restful, but maybe watching me do it. Then we have active leisure versus passive leisure. So I'm going to see what this group will do with something. Okay, I'm going to actually stop sharing, and I'm going to bring up another slide here, and I'm going to see what happens with you guys. Okay, so here's the thing we're going to do first. We're going to try this. This is the first exercise, and I am curious what happens when I do this. So we're going to just breathe. Oh, wait, you already are. but we're going to breathe with some purpose. So here's what I'm going to have you do. I want you to go, and then I want you to go. Let me see you, because some of you are not breathing at all. You're watching with your eyes, but your mouths are not doing anything. So suck it in, and then push it out. This time, try it through your nose. Suck in through your nose. Some of you need to blow your noses. Okay, now blow out through your mouth with a big O. Oh. Okay, now one more time. Now this time, suck in. This time you're going to sing out. You're going to go, ah. Ooh. And you know what? You know, the worries about. So what just happened is I actually reduced the cortisol level and raised your dopamine level if you followed along with me. Simply doing that deep breathing and then singing out on the last note changes the chemistry of your brain. It drops cortisol, it raises dopamine, it can change serotonin level. It is so simple. This is just something really simple. It's good for you, but it turns out it might be satisfying because you get oxygen flow going to your brain again. And sometimes what I'll have to do is figure out another way to get it going. Let's see if you recognize this. Oh, anybody recognize that one? Did you recognize that? Let's see. See if anybody did. Oh, clock. What do you think? Any guesses?
Katie says Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Yeah, so let's see how many of you can you do that. That's where they start that, Oklahoma. So see how many of you can get going with Oklahoma. So you have to take a big breath in. And then it's, oh, open wide. Oh, like you're going to sing opera. Oh, drop your jaw. Oh, Oklahoma. It's all it. Job. Just a few slugs. Slugs. I got to work with my slugs. Not really. What happens though is we use a little humor in there. So let me go back because yeah, we can start with that. Let's see what else can happen. Let's see what else is on the agenda here as a possibility. Laughing. It turns out that laughing is an amazingly important part of a human being's day. And when we use laughter, when we use humor, when we can find what's funny, when we can find something that gives you that enough of a positive rush that you laugh out loud, it turns out it's incredibly important for your well-being. So I'm going to give you a few just to see what happens in this group, because some of you, I'm not sure you've been anywhere lately to have a lot of fun. Maybe you have. So these are things I found online. This is supposedly a history test that children took. So here's the answer to a question. Ancient Egypt was old. It was inhabited by gypsies and mummies who all wrote in hydraulics. They lived in the Sahara Desert. The climate of the Sahara is such that all the inhabitants have to live elsewhere. So it's one of those moments where for certain people it's not funny, for other people it's like, my heavens. Okay, now here's the next one. This one is a bit more funny. Solomon had 300 wives and 700 porcupines. This is what kids write. He was an actual hysterical figure as well as being in the Bible. So close and yet so far away. It sounds like he was sort of busy too. Okay, Socrates was a famous Greek teacher. He went around giving people advice. They killed him. He later died from an overdose of wedlock, which is apparently poisonous. After his death, his career suffered a dramatic decline. In the first Olympic Games, Greeks ran races, jumped, hurled biscuits, and threw the Java. The games were messier than they show on TV now. Madman Curie discovered radio. She was the first woman to do what she did. Other women have become scientists since her, but they didn't get to find radios because they were already taken. So some of you are laughing, some of you are chuckling. These two tend to be the ones that might help you out a tiny bit more. Sir Francis Drake circumcised the world with a 100-foot clipper, which was very dangerous to all his men. Little wordplay. Johann Bach wrote a great many musical compositions and had a large number of children. In between, he practiced on an old spinster, which he kept up in his attic. Bach was the most famous. Bach died in 1750 to the present. He was on hospice a long time. Bach was the most famous composer in the world, and so was Handel. Handel was half German, half Italian, and half English. He was very large. So for some people, humor doesn't come in that fashion. I hear you. But for other people, it might. And sometimes we get so involved in living a very challenging life that humor is very difficult to find. So sometimes we have to go hunt it up. Sometimes we'll have to work on it. Sometimes simply working on breathing can lead to laughing, can lead to more. So it's a quarter of, and I'm gonna let's see. We have Andrea who's gathering some questions, but I'm just gonna show you through. There's a few more slides that I want you just to see for some of the self-care things. And then if we get a chance, depending on the number of questions you have, and then here's this one, rest and restoration. Because I think sometimes what happens is we always think about sleep, but sometimes restful things and restorative things don't necessarily have to involve sleep. And we're not just talking about the person who's living with Parkinson's. We're talking about those of us who are trying to do the support part. And sometimes we're the ones that need rest and restoration. And yet we have to still be present. But sometimes there is a way to get some needs met without having to go away to do it. So there are also some cues and ways that we can help. So positive action starters. One of the questions that I know came up, how do you do it when somebody refuses? Well, I make it hard to refuse. So what I might do is I've been known to, oh, shoot. Doggone it, I just dropped these things. Here, tell you what, here, hold that for me. There you go, here. Let me get that one here, there. And what I'm doing, let me just give you the screen, is I drop things. Now, I admit, I'm getting some of my exercise in, my stretching, but by having the person hold the container for me to drop it in, they're participating. And so the next time when I pick one up, I only bring it to here to see if they'll move it over so that I can drop it in. And then this time I may be even further away and see if they'll move it over so I can drop it in. So that I'm starting really small and saying, here, can you hold those? I've got 3 here, go ahead and put those in for me. And I pick up 3 and I take my hand and I'll see if they can open their hand, and then they put them in. So it's called reverse chaining is the technique. And what I'm doing is trying to figure out how I can start, how can I initiate, how can I get that engine going when that engine has a tremendously difficult time kicking into gear. And so I've got to trick the engine. I can't just push the car, because I'll be exhausted pushing the car, and the car's not going anywhere. It's the engine that's not running, not the car. The car's not moving because the engine isn't running yet. I've got to figure out how to get the ignition going so the engine starts up. Once the engine starts up, I then need to put the car in gear. I have to help the person get the car in gear. And all too often, what we try to use are words without any other cues. And we've got to figure out how to take away the language to get there to be more spontaneous without thinking opportunities that I catch the person almost in the middle of something, and then we can move it forward. So I'm going to pause there because I said I'd open it up for questions, and that was the answer to the first question. How do you do it when somebody refuses? I don't ask yes, no, and I don't ask, are you ready? Do you want to? Because as soon as I ask that, I'll get a no, and then after that, I don't have permission. So I could use your help. Oh, let me show you. Take a look at this. Pretty involved, huh? So here's what I'm wondering. I'm getting ready to start this one. Should I start with red or green? And what I will then do is hold up two colored pencils, a red and a green one, and I will hold them up on one side or the other. Which one do you think? And I take this away, and the red is over here and the green is over here. Which one do you think? This one or this one? I don't know. You know what? I'm going to start with this one. I want your opinion though, because I'm still not giving up. I'm just modifying my expectations, because what I've got to figure out is where's the place that I can get the ignition to catch. All right. So Andrea, do we have any questions? And if not, I can do some more things.
We do.
Oh, I think
So yes. And if you have not yet submitted your question, please do. So the first question, you're a professional, so the dynamic is different than someone who this is my life partner, or this is the parent who raised me. How can I start these interactions without it feeling condescending or infantilizing or forced?
Oh, hey, Andrea.
Yes.
Okay, so what I did is I used your name, and I could say, hey, Dad. Because what I'm asking for is, do I have permission to try something with you? And I would do that, you know, regardless of that. Oh, listen, I have a big favor to ask of you. I could use some help in the kitchen. I'm sort of stuck. Now, here's the thing. I have to authentically want some help in the kitchen. In other words, do I want them? Do I really want them to come into the kitchen with me? Am I really seeking something? And I said, okay, so I'm thinking about making a salad tonight. And I know I could either tear the lettuce up or I could cut it. Do you have a preference, or you don't really care? Because I was reading some stuff. So what I've got to do is take myself out of my partner role and recognize in this place that we're in right now, I'm going to move more into a therapeutic use of self role. And if I am doing this 24/7 and I am not getting a break, I'm not going to feel very therapeutic. If, however, I am in a situation where I do get some time away, I get some rest and restoration, I do things that are satisfying, that I quite authentically do want my partner to come with me and do something with me. And I don't want to whine. I know, whatever I decide, you are the easiest going person, but I really need some help on this one. I can't make up my mind on this. So watch me and see what you think. Okay, so I'm going to try it this way. I'm going to try it that way. And all I want you to do is let me know what you think is looking better for you. Because if I can't get somebody to watch, yikes, we really are in a, they both look good. You know what? I think I need a hug. You are the easiest going person. But what I just got when I said, I think I need a hug, you are the easiest going person, is I got them to take their arms, bring their arms out, and I can give a deep pressure hug. And a deep pressure hug is proprioception, and proprioception is turning on circuitry. by giving a squeeze and going, oh, you're the best. You support me no matter what. I love you. Oh, let me have you try something. And it may or may not work. It's not about whether it works. It's whether or not I get eye contact. It's whether or not I get some movement in a direction that I wouldn't normally. And those are little successes. And sometimes I'm looking for a big bang because it's been a long week. It's getting hard. It's so hard to get things to happen that I sort of get to a place where it's like, is it worth it? And it's like, I can't answer that question without a further conversation. But I do know that I've been the carer, I've been the daughter-in-law. And I will tell you, daughters-in-law really aren't necessarily the most popular person because actually you exist because you took her son away from her. And so there's all kinds of story that goes along with that. And depending on our previous relationship, it may not have been the most stellar relationship, but I know that actually she will do more with me than she will do with her son, because her son, unfortunately, and she have sort of a relationship that is a little different, and they get frustrated with each other. And I'm more able to do it because I'm not the one that's getting frustrated. I can hear her say, you know, I don't know why Dick ever married you. And I'll say, well, AB, sometimes I'm not sure either. And she would then say, you know, when I would come to your house, I would never wear white gloves. And I've got to say in that moment, there was a moment where I went, did you actually just say my house is too dirty to wear white gloves? You, who we had to clean the 1945 canned green beans who had exploded in the pantry. You who had stacks of newspaper piled throughout the living room and magazines, every magazine you ever got, and boxes from the friggin' Franklin Mint. You, I mean, Wow, AB, that was probably a really good decision. Because in that moment, what you gonna do?
What you gonna do? We do have another question that kind of takes it from a different angle. So for those, there are some people watching who have Parkinson's themselves and like this and want to encourage their spouses or loved ones to, instead of, you know, being bossy and wagging their finger, help me trick my engine. What would you advise to those type relationships?
For those kind of situations, your spouse actually needs some training. I mean, did I say that out loud? Yes, because when you're a spouse for somebody who's living with massive amounts of changes in mobility, it doesn't mean they get that training that they should get. And with being a spouse, I care a lot about you moving, and I want you to move. Come on, you know what the doctor said, and that's called whining. And unfortunately, as a spouse, it's easy to move into whining territory or telling territory, and it's really hard to back up. Now, in the end of the PowerPoint, there are numbers of cues that can be more helpful. But classically, spouses sometimes already feel like they know what to do. And it's like, I bet you do. And I bet you're really good at lots of things. I'm wondering, though, how many times a day does your wife or your husband feel like they're the one that's helping you? How many times a day do they feel satisfied that what they did was really pretty amazing? How many times a day do you look at them and go, thank you. You are the most remarkable person. I don't know how you do what you do every day, living with what you're living with, but I could sure use your help right now. I don't know how you do it, but I could use some help. And so there are a number of techniques that I put at the end of the PowerPoint that are talking about the kind of things I've been doing, and Melanie did. Because I think what we expect is we expect people to walk into this role and know how to support someone, when in fact their history might be they've supported children through growing up. They've supported, people at work, but they've not really worked in a situation where everything I try to do is so freaking hard. And the more I try to do it, the harder it gets. And yet all of a sudden I can do things and I don't understand why the next time I want to do them, I can't do them. And it's the difference between spontaneous ignition and me trying to ignite it. And so the partner learning the skills on ignition, how do you get that ignition? How do you prepare and get the initiation? So your person can really participate in ways that it's really fun for both of us. And one I haven't mentioned so much, but is really wonderful, is marching or dancing, because both of those have power. They're incredibly powerful rhythmic patterns, but often it's hard to do on Zoom. But I would say it's really important to figure that out. What could we do together that gives us a sense of pleasure? And so we actually have training classes, and we can do them for a very low price. People can watch some of the stuff we have, but we have very low cost, or you guys have lots of things I know as well. Oops, guess what? I set a timer. I told you that because I don't keep up with time very well.
But that might be a perfect cue then to put that QR code in the website again. I think now people are hooked and ready to seek out those cues and some of those training tools and tips.
You guys, I don't need you guys. Yeah, we know about you. That's not the one I was looking for. Here's the one I was looking for. So just to let you know about what are some of the other things that are in that. Okay, come on, Teepa. You can do this. I'm trying to initiate quickly. You know how that goes.
Ooh, lots of good stuff.
There's lots of good stuff here. There really are lots of good things that. Here you go. That's what I was trying to get to. So here's the QR code and here's the website, and we will also send a PDF. You will also get the PDF at the association, so you'll be able to, the Alliance, so you guys will be able to share it out as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. So this was a great overview of the concept, a little sneak peek and active demonstration. And yeah, you're good, because I was pulled in and answering questions about Scrabble tiles, and now appreciate the PowerPoint and the ability to access more and go deeper and get resources to share with our loved ones. So, and all in 60 minutes. Well, thank you so much, Teepa. And we have a ritual, and I know rituals are important. You share. So I invite everyone to turn on your camera if you've had it off, and we like to close with just a wave of gratitude for you, Teepa, for sharing your wisdom. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We're in this together, and
it's a
just
lot
love
of
to
hand movement. Good job. You got a lot of people doing this thing.
be engaged. So thank you, everyone. So good to see you, and can't wait for the next one. So have a wonderful afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, everybody.